What did you see that you definitely weren't supposed to see? Was working at a hotel during college and saw my lab partner get a room with the professor. My aunt sent a picture of her tits to my mom after she got them done. I happened to be the one using the phone when the message came through and opened it without expecting anything like that. Was fixing an elderly neighbor's laptop that had nudes of his wife on the desktop with the thumbnails at maximum size. It's like he wanted me to see them. I will say though, she had a bangin' bod for a woman in her 70s. I think it's safe to say he thought the same. About 5 years old, woke up to the snow finally starting to melt. Notice a girl asleep in the garden. Went told my dad. He took one look and told me to go play in my room. Turns out girl had been asleep in our front garden for about 2 weeks, buried and frozen under the snow. One time I was up late at night scrolling Facebook at the same time as my drunk and high off Xanax married mother, who was an entire time zone away at the time. She was messaging an old fling from high school while her husband was away at work and was sending him close-up pictures of her angina. How I know this is because she didn't send them via Messenger. She posted them on her actual Facebook page. I had to call her in the middle of the night in her zonked out stupor to get her password to delete pictures of angina off her own Facebook page. When I was still married, my then wife had left her phone on to run to the bathroom while I was in bed. I looked at it for the time, and found it was left open to a secret Gmail account she was using for sending literally hundreds of nudes back and forth between many dudes. For years. Up to that night while she was fully 6 months pregnant. Mostly original stuff too. I think that hurt more. My company's entire payroll on a spreadsheet. Someone left it on the printer. Used the info to get away past due raise. I had a treehouse in my backyard. The neighbors behind us had a pool. I was 12, their daughters were 18 and had their boyfriends over. They end up jumping topless into the pool while I was chilling in the treehouse reading. Was working on a school project with some kid. Opened a folder where I thought we saved some of the videos for the project. It was nothing but his dad's bestiality porn. I'll never forget the look on that kid's face. His parents got a divorce like a month later, and he moved away. I went on a road trip with my grandma when I was 15. My mom let me borrow her suitcase. Pretty sure she forgot that she'd stashed an envelope of very dirty photos of her and my stepfather. About a dozen. In various acts. With various people and objects. My grandma walked in as I discovered them, and I was in a panic, fearing she might ask to see the photos I was looking at. Thankfully my aunt distracted her and I was able to hide them away in the pocket where I'd found them. It was quite an awakening. Grandma naked. Repeatedly. My room is across the hall from the bathroom and I would do homework a lot with headphones on. I heard my grandma holler something to me from the bathroom. Took my headphones off and looked to the bathroom door right as she opened it to go to the guest bedroom. Turns out she was saying, "Don't look, naked grandma." Naked men wrestling on my mom's laptop. Not gay porn. It was actual wrestling in a ring. Just with their soft digs out. When I was like 9, she later came out as a lesbian. So I'm not sure what that was about. When I was a kid I had to pull one of my ferrets out from under my parents' bed, and locked in his jaws was a bright red rubber dildo. In my high school Spanish class, our teacher had taped VHS, a telenovela for us to watch. When she put the VHS tape in, there was about 0.25 seconds of a porno that played. A topless woman moaning. Out of a class of around 30 kids, only about 5 of us looked around at each other and locked eyes with a, "Did anyone else just frocking see that? Look." Our teacher must have taped over an old porno VHS of hers. I was hiking in a forest with some friends, and as we continued on the trail, the mound of rocks on our right side opened up to more forest. Myself and one of my friends were leading the other two by a couple of yards, and we both briefly saw a couple having doggy style several hundred feet into the forest on that right side. My friend and I gave each other that, "Did you see that sit too? Look." By the time my other friends caught up, the couple had split and we couldn't see them anymore. It was like 2 p.m. in broad daylight off of a main road, which was the weirdest part. I was working airport security. I know, I'm sorry. We all hate it too. The X-ray guy sees a jar of cream in a bag. I'm called to the bag check and get the owner of the bag to come with me to do a bag check. I look through it, find what appears to be a jar of gel, and I tell the tiny effeminate man he can't bring gels through. He looks to the other side of the checkpoint, tells his very large stereotypical plumber-looking boyfriend this, and he says, "No, not. It's not. You fuck it." Yeah, he yelled the last part. I was holding his fleshlight. I had to do a chemical swab on a fleshlight. HR at my last job accidentally sent out a list of everyone's home address, phone number, email, and if they were coming back after the layoff. My mom's phone got a notification while it was charging. Curious, I just checked to see what it was. It was a text message from some guy saying, "I'm going to have your fussy for breakfast." I've never checked her phone since. When I was 11 or 12, I walked in on my older brother masturbating. His back was turned, so luckily all I saw was his ass. As I walked in on him, I saw his mattress falling back into place, so being the curious child I was, I went to see what was under his mattress on a later day when he wasn't home. I was hoping for porn. 'Cause growing up in the 90s in a religious household meant it was super hard to come by. But no, what I found was much worse. I found about 4 dozen little zip-top snack baggies full of cum. My grandparents were both a bit deaf. I was downstairs prepping dinner and called out to them. No response. I placed their plates on a tray instead and walked upstairs to their room. Their door half open. Saw my fully naked grandma riding my fully naked grandpa like they have no aches and pains. It's weird. Like normally they do everything in slow-mo. Apparently not. In high school I found a document on my dad's computer that was basically a diary of his massive crush on another woman. I don't know why I opened it and felt really bad, but he probably shouldn't have kept it on a computer he let me use. It was weird, but I never told anyone and tried not to think about it. My parents are still together and they seem, mostly, happy. Edit. I appreciate all the comments trying to comfort me that this is normal. But the fact remains I definitely was not supposed to see that. As a kid I just felt really sad for both of my parents. I figured they were just staying married because they didn't believe in divorce. But since I've actually been in relationships now, I get that that's just a thing that happens. My brother opened his Google Chrome in front of me and I saw Hentai Haven in the most visited section under the search bar. Once when I was 14, my dad was working as a handyman after being laid off by his company and taking odd jobs for friends and family members. He would hire me and pay me a day's work with lunch to come be his work partner. Kind of a father-son bonding moment. In hindsight. Anyways, one day we were working at my dad's cousin's house remodeling the master bathroom, and in plain sight, on the bed was a giant dildo that we both had to pass in order to get to the bathroom. For an entire 8 hours in an empty house, me nor my father acknowledged the family dildo. Saw a man crash his motorcycle into the back of a parked car. He flipped over the car, hitting his head on the pavement and dying on scene. Firefighters showed up and sprayed his brains and blood down the storm drain. Later found out it was a girl's father who I went to middle school with. I was 12. When I was 9 years old, I walked into my parents' room to talk to my mom, who was sleeping. She had cancer at the time, which I didn't know about, so she always wore a headscarf to hide the fact that she was losing her hair from chemotherapy. She woke up frantically and hurried me out of the room, but I cannot forget the moment when I saw her without hair and couldn't understand why. Lol. Edit. Thank you to everyone who reached out. Y'all are very wholesome. Less than 3. To those wondering, my mom passed 2 years later. I have come to terms with it though, and I am 22 years old now. When I was 18, I was pulling an all-nighter trying to finish an English project when I decided to take a break and grab a can of Coke from the kitchen. While walking there, I passed the living room and saw my father screwing his friend's wife on the couch. I turned right the frock around and decided tap water from the bathroom would suffice. My neighbor was grounded to her room and my buddy and I were in my backyard and talking to her through her window. We were going to try and get her attention, but we realized her mom was in the living room masturbating. Lol. Okay, non-NSFW1. I was waiting in a condo apartment lobby. I asked the concierge for the Wi-Fi password. She was not good with computers and just turned her screen to show a text file that had every important password and keycode for the building. I am talking router password, boiler room key combination, package room door code, security camera server password, their concierge email login, everything, because she didn't want to read out each letter. She let me take a picture of it. When I was a kid, somehow a digital camera appeared in my house. At the time I didn't know where it had come from, but it was there. Once I was lurking around and saw it on the shelf, so I took it and started taking pictures. But my pics were bad, so as I started to view them to erase them, I realized it had more pictures. So I keep watching them, till I saw one of my sister on her knees, sucking dig. Later I found out that the camera was a gift to her from an older guy she met online. I just stopped thinking about it and never looked back. Just erased that memory from my mind. Until now, I guess. Not me, but my dad. He stepped outside a bar one night on a rainy day to get more smokes from his car. This was back when you could smoke inside, and saw one guy kneeling on the ground holding another dude face down in a pothole puddle and the other guy thrashing wildly. He said that instinct took over and he just ran up and kicked the attacker in the head as hard as he could, knocking him out. He sat with the victim until he left to make sure the dude was okay and didn't try to murder the now unconscious attacker. Then he made an anonymous 911 call so that someone would tend to the unconscious guy and left. He said it was the creepiest thing he ever just walked in on and he never went back to that bar again. A collection of child porn and bestiality images from the dark web that someone was trying to publish as a book on Amazon. I think the owner thought that if they didn't include any sexual keywords in the book metadata, the reviewers wouldn't notice it. ETA. I used to work on the book review team. A BDSM porn video starring a girl who I went to high school with who had recently graduated. I don't know who originally found it or how, but once they did, a lot of people around school ended seeing it. My mom and stepdad's duffel bag of 6 toys and German porn VHS tapes. A photo clearly intended for my mom of my dad naked with a few of his friends all holding paper in front of their digs that had "Happy Birthday" name on them respectively. When I was in high school, I used to spend a lot of time exploring abandoned buildings. One time I was in a hospital. The top levels were all vandalized beyond recognition, but the basement was untouched. I assume because people were too creeped out or because half the building collapsed, so maybe the risk kept people away. I was dumb though, so I went down. All the paperwork was still on the desks, prescriptions laying around, names, addresses, phone numbers. I was honestly amazed that all that information was just left. It felt weird because I really wasn't interested in any of it, but I couldn't stop filing through rooms of paperwork untouched for years. It was just a weird compulsion because I knew I wasn't supposed to ever see any of that stuff. Bizarro Wuxtree, a music and comic shop in Athens, has lots of storage boxes all over the place. During one visit, I opened one and found a message the staff put inside. "Stop being a nosy little turd." I couldn't help but laugh. Human bones in the bottom of a cenote in the Yucatan of Mexico. Dad told me to STFU and not swim in that area anymore. I'll try to paint the scene. It's a sweltering summer day in a sketchy downtown parking lot. I'm sitting in my car having a smoke. I see a guy push over a portable washroom with another guy inside. The poor dude was covered head to toe in the contents of a hot city toilet. I could smell it from my car. This guy obviously flips out and he starts beating the living hell out of the dude who pushed over the toilet. He gets the guy on the ground, picks up a huge cement brick and repeatedly smashes it on the guy's head. It was a horrific scene. Nobody knew I was there and I had to testify in a court case years later. I was helping my grandma with dementia walk to the toilet. I got her situated and turned around to give her some privacy to do her business. I hear her giggling, turn back around, and she has her shirt off and was tapping her saggy boobs so they flopped back and forth. A member of parliament in my country, Canada, showed his honorable member to the whole House of Commons earlier today. My Spanish teacher with my geography teacher in underwear in an empty classroom. My manager finger blasting the older cashier in the canned goods pantry. Edit to clarify, this was a bowling alley. I was a cook and had already closed and cleaned, but after I had clocked out and gone to my car, I forgot I was told I could take the leftover Martinelli's apple cider from our New Year's Eve bash earlier that week. Walked in to grab it and there they were. Close-up photo of, probably, my dad's asshole while I was scrolling through his iCloud photos looking for a different picture. I think it had something to do with his upcoming rectal exam. Nothing was wrong with it visually, but the realization of what I was looking at was absolutely horrifying. Part of my soul shriveled up and died. When I was 11, I saw another kid sit in a urinal, and after he was done he saw me staring at him and literally pissed his pants. Got home from school, walked upstairs to my room and looked in my sister's room. Her boyfriend was laying on the bed with her laying on top of him. She had no shirt on and he was cupping her boobs. They both just turned their heads to look at me and I went, "Oh," and turned to my room. My mom's attempted suicide. I was supposed to be at track practice but skipped and caught the bus home. I walked in on my mom face down at her desk with pills and alcohol scattered around her. I was at a friend's house when I was a kid. We were doing crafts on the front porch and I needed tape for something. I ran to the backyard to go ask her mom for some, and when I walked through the pool fence gate, I saw her mom giving her dad a BJ on the lounge chair. I couldn't look her dad in the eyes after that. Most awkward experience I've ever had. Edit. To answer common questions, yes, I did get the tape. I wasn't leaving without it. We had a serious project on the go. It was imperative I got the tape. Also, I couldn't look at the dad because I saw his privates and we made eye contact while her mom was a little preoccupied. Lol. Text messages on a cell phone my mom gave me when she upgraded to a new one. She told my dad she wanted him to pound her like a jackhammer and like a big black guy. I was in middle school and it's burned into my brain. My sister discovered that someone had searched pregnant erect nipples on the home computer. My dad and I both denied it, and we were the only 2 males in the house. It wasn't me. My uncle injecting my dad with heroin. My parents were getting ready to head out for a double date with my friend's parents. Everyone came over to our place beforehand and brought their kids because their oldest daughter was going to babysit the rest of us. The adults were in the kitchen chatting and my sibs and I decide we want to show our new sitter this home video we made of a turtle we caught. None of the tapes were labeled well, so of course we end up putting on what turned out to be my parents' 6th tape. 5 kids with our jaws on the floor watched as my mom pulled down my dad's boxers and started blowing him. Dad was hung apparently. The sitter, who was maybe 15 at the time, dove for the VCR and powered it off. Within seconds all the parents come through. "Okay, kids. Be good." Met with our stunned silence. My 10-year-old brother called me into my parents' room. 11-year-old me was shocked when he showed me some Polaroid photos he had found under the mattress. My mom denuded with her legs spread open. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. When I was 6, I didn't know how to spell soccer, but I wanted to learn how to play. When I got home, I went on the computer and tried to go to Socor.com. Huge porn site at the time. A Craigslist ad open on my father's laptop explaining that he is an excellent cocksucker. Pretended I never even saw that, hoping I would forget. Almost didn't post it here for the same reason. I saw Craigslist emails in my friend's email account when helping him recover his Pokemon Go account once. It was a response to an M4 meters ad. I never said anything about it because I know he isn't gay. But he's definitely bisexual and in the closet with it. My grandpa sleeping sitting straight up with a remote control balanced on his head. My dad sucking on my mom's titty. I was 28. A big pile of blow, like fist-sized, on the counter in the men's room at a corporate Christmas party. I once saw my Christmas presents early. I was sitting on a futon watching TV in my dorm room next to my buddy. He was snapping his GF and I look over and he just opened up a pic of her vajayjay she sent him out of the blue. I turn away instantly. He peeks over at me and I say, "Man, this show crazy. I think I fooled him." When I was in high school, I saw one of my best friend's mom naked. She hadn't expected us to arrive home, so she took a bath and left the door ajar. I was desperate to pee, so I went barging into the bathroom just as she was stepping out of the tub and stretching to reach a towel rack. I was terribly embarrassed and apologetic, but not entirely sorry. It was in 1969, 10 years old, living out in the country in Ney, Ohio. I was out in the backyard and heard tires screech and then a loud crash. Went in the house and told my mom to call the ambulance, and I ran out and down the road a couple hundred yards to where the car crashed into a telephone pole. The guy's head was laying in the ditch. Rest of his body still in the car. Mostly. My mom and sister were on vacation, so it was me and my dad home alone. It was past my bedtime or whatever, but I couldn't sleep, so I went downstairs to see what my dad was doing. As I'm going down, I see across my living room the silhouette of a woman walking by. I only saw it for a split second. So my dad came running towards me like, "Hey buddy, how's it going? Give me a hug." He held me back so I couldn't get past him to see who it was. I was hysterical because I thought it was my sister and they were playing a trick on me or something. My dad was quick to tell me, "Oh, you thought you saw a ghost? Let's call your mom and tell her you thought you saw a ghost." Years later, my mom finds out my dad's been cheating and now he's married to her. That guy sucks. I'm a teacher and was helping my student, 13-year-old boy, try and troubleshoot his Chromebook and get it working again. I always clear the cache and cookies because that usually helps. But because they are school computers, you can't clear the history. As I opened up the tab to clear the cache and cookies, I see that his latest Google search was "how to kiss." He knows I saw it. He looked so embarrassed. I am so glad we're wearing masks so he couldn't see me trying so hard not to laugh. ETA. I laughed because it was so unexpected and he definitely didn't want a teacher or any adult really to know he was trying to learn how to kiss. It was just really wholesome. My dad was cheating on my mom with a coworker. I was looking for a picture to send to my grandma for a Christmas card when his mistress texted him a question about what time they were meeting tomorrow. Curious, I scrolled up and saw a picture of her boobs with my dad's response being, "Daddy likes," with an eggplant emoji and water droplets. I showed my mom the texts right after I finished throwing up. Edit. For those wondering, no, she never left him. He begged for her to not leave him, and since she doesn't have income or friends, she stayed. Walked in on my boss snorting a line of coke off a T-bone steak. Crossing the street on Poplar in Memphis. Those of you that know it, know it. Right near the homeless shelter. Old man crossing the street up a bit gets hit by a car. When he lands, his skull just sort of opens up. His brains landed about 100 feet away from me on the pavement. He did not make it. I was just a child. Like 8. And I went to Calabria, South Italy, with my family for summer vacations. We rented a house for 2 weeks. Me, my brother and a friend of us were playing in the garden when we heard voices coming from the neighbor's garden. We looked out from a hole in the hedge and saw a man with the water hose in his hand, playing with 7 or 8 fully naked smiling young women. Sometimes I'm still asking myself who the hell he was. My friend writing in his scholarship essay about how He needed assistance more than ever. Since he was diagnosed with HIV, I never told a soul. It's been my best kept secret since. My mother on FaceTime with her boyfriend on her bed with her magic wand. Also my mother's porn stash. Oh, and my mother's dildo drawer. The insides of my partner's abdomen during a C-section. I was told, don't look over the divider, and did anyhow. I was mortified for days. Don't look over the divider. Mum's vibrator. Help. Oh, also some 6 tapes of my friend's dad and his girlfriend. Oh, and what makes it worse is they used my friend's trident. A toy that he used frequently in the childish fighting game we used to play, as both a dildo and like a wooden spoon. We both saw this as young children scrolling through the smart TV's files looking for a movie. Pics of my mother giving a BJ to her drug dealer and screenshots of the conversation explaining my stepfather as a cuck. I was at my buddy's house one day and I had to use the restroom very badly. He was on the couch on his phone and I assumed his girlfriend was in the kitchen. I don't mean that in a bad way. She was recently in the kitchen on a phone call and I just assumed she was just on her phone there still. Well, I go past their dining room and into the hallway where their bathroom is. I open the door and his girlfriend is taking denude photos of herself. Needless to say, I stepped out and quietly apologized. Almost right after that she walked out and I avoided eye contact. But I did get to use the restroom so it wasn't all that bad. Me and my brother work at the same place. Something came up and I needed to ride with him to work that day. He knew what time I was coming to his house and everything. My wife dropped me off there. I walk in without knocking. Because hey, he knew what time I was coming. I walk in and him and his wife are straight up humping on their couch. He's screaming to get out and I look like I'm trying to find the invisible camera to make the Jim Halpert expression in edit. I'm so surprised I got so many upvotes. Let me know if you want to hear the story of when I caught my best friend masturbating. I didn't see nothing. A text message on my dad's phone to an unsaved number saying that he would love to be spending Christmas with his real family. I was 13. I just wanted to play Snake. Man. Edit. I am dumbfounded. I woke up to this comment section having absolutely exploded. And I don't really know what to say. The outpouring of support and love is so appreciated. Through comments and messages. The people who have shared with me their similar childhoods. I feel for you. Thank you all so much. I walked in on my sister taking denudes. I wanted to put bleach on my eyes. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes and awards, kind strangers. My grandmother's angina when my mom and I were lifting her onto her wheelchair after she attempted suicide. I once witnessed the aftermath of cement factory explosion. The workers who survived had server burns, like they were skinned alive. I saw them waiting for the ambulance on my way school. It was 5 years ago. I still can remember everything I saw vividly. Walked in on my dad eating my mom's box on his office desk. It was bullshit. It was a Sunday. I'd gone for a nap. Woke up. Everything was quiet and no one seemed to be around. I grabbed a snack and went to play some StarCraft and POW. 12-year-old me walked in on that. Edit. Can confirm. Not glamorous. Found out my karate teacher and his wife are into cuckolding. He let other men, mostly black guys, sleep with his wife. Saw a picture online of her getting spit roasted by 2 black guys. Faces blurred, and instantly recognized the room they were at. Yep, it's the same room we're having our karate lessons. Edit. Gee, this blew up. It was in their basement. Wife is definitely a MILF. Think Jennifer Coolidge, Stifler's mom. Looking through my dad's photos for pictures of my cat, saw one of his girlfriend's boobs instead. Never again. A middle-aged Chinese man taking a sit on the beach. Was looking for a video I shot on vacation on my dad's phone. Found my stepmom's denudes in the process. Why is my most liked Reddit comment about seeing my stepmom's tits? I frocking hate this app, man. I wasn't supposed to see Fellatio, but there I was in the movie theater on a Tuesday. I was watching Parasite. Good movie by the way. As the theater was practically empty. There were 5 of us. Just as the end credits were rolling I was looking for my phone which dropped in between the seats. I found it and when I looked up, there they were. The guy gave me the look of, "Don't frock this up for me." I slowly left, trying my best not to make any loud noises. The next day I laughed just thinking about it. Slept over a friend's house. Woke up to get water. Friend's 400 pounds naked mother camming to a group of people on the internet in an early 2000s Skype sesh. I did not need the water that badly. 18 at the time. Saw my childhood best friend's dad smoke crack. He didn't care that I was right there. Even said, "Don't tell best friend." Walking back from the store taking my usual shortcut, I saw a guy getting blown by the dumpster behind the abandoned mattress store. This may be a bit different, but I was a little kid and watched the Challenger accident from my yard just outside Cape Canaveral. It never should have happened in the first place and was entirely preventable, but that's another story. No one should have seen that, let alone a child. I've been watching these two baby doves come into the world. From eggs laid to leaving the nest for the past few weeks on my porch. Today they finally left my porch entirely. I looked outside and noticed two crows chasing something small. I immediately ran outside to try to chase them away, but found one of the baby doves pecked to death in a feathery explosion in a bush. I saw a guy beating his thing on the train the other day, thinking about becoming a nun. The chest X-ray of someone who had 6 months to live. I was a construction worker then and I was fire caulking the ceiling when one of the wound techs, who was old and tenured, gasped. Whatever it was must be bad to make her gasp. I looked down. He has no more than 6 months to live, if even that, she said. The X-ray was of a lung, but the masses were so thick and huge it made the screen look almost entirely white. He has no idea. He's never even had a chest X-ray before. Mom being fisted. They were very stoned. I was about 8. And sort of awkwardly excused myself. Hippie childhoods aren't the greatest. My boyfriend and I were messing around on my family Amazon account one day out of boredom. We found out that there is this really cool feature that lets you see all your orders from the past. We went through some of our early orders, which included some books I got for Christmas as a kid, a Kindle, the Elf on the Shelf we had, my elementary math books, ECT. It was so cool to go down memory lane. And then, we found out about the archive feature. Intrigued as to what we possibly could have archived on Amazon. We clicked it. There was only one item, a 1-star rated pocket poo ***y in October of 2019. Right before our family vacation to Disney. My dad is the only male in our family, so there is no questioning who bought the toy, nor its intended purpose. My brother having sex with our cousin. This isn't seeing, but it's still awful. I heard my parents having sex in the shower and I'm pretty sure that's how my little brother was conceived. My neighbor getting railed pressed against her apartment window. She had massive tits and they were squished against the glass. I stared for a while before moving on. 95% of the posts are encounters with thorny people. I once saw my Christmas gift from Santa in my mom's recent Amazon orders. Parents having sex.